Man. Sean, it's wonderful to meet you, sir. Thank you for taking a minute out today.
Absolutely, man. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. So before we get into your good work, I want to know this. 5 years ago, this pandemic was changing our lives, rearranging everything. How did you make it through the pandemic of 2020? And how has it influenced the way that you live life in 2025?
Oh man. How did we make it through the pandemic? We got a lot of rest. We stayed home a lot.
Yeah.
My firstborn son was actually born in 2020. So that was kind of an interesting thing because, nobody was allowed at the hospital, which at first we were kind of bummed out about. But then once we went through the process and it was like an intimate time with my wife and I with our firstborn, it was like, this is good. This is okay. Like we got time together. Um, but yeah, man, I mean, probably a little bit like everybody else, we, kind of didn't wear masks where we were supposed to and wore them sometimes and did the best that we could.
It was such a confusing time. I remember that time now because it all kind of melts together. It was like in the beginning they it was optional, and I don't know if it was a regional thing where we were here, and then all of a sudden it was like wear them, and then it was like a variant. Before the variant came out, you can take it off, it's fine, and then when the variant came out, wear it. It's like, and then the weird thing about it was is that you wore it all the time, but when you went into a restaurant, you took it off to eat and consume liquid and food, which is going to expel in a more magnanimous way than before. So the whole thing was like, what kind of twilight zone are we living through right now? It was weird.
Bro, it was such a mess, man. It was
Yeah.
just like you said, it was weird and it was just it really opened my eyes to, and obviously, I mean, we can get political or not get political, that's fine, but it just opened my eyes to like how much control does the government have over us? Like they're literally like saying stuff and putting out these regulations and punishing people for stuff that makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. Like
And people are just like, okay, we'll do it. It's
I
like,
I know at one point I was like my son and I were really into sports. So when this started, spring training stopped, everything kind of stopped. So the only thing that we could really watch was bowling. And we're watching bowling, and at one point a PSA comes out, and it's like, stay 6 feet away, you know, don't cough or sneeze or do this, that, and the other. And there was all these rules, and I was like, everything that we were taught as adults, us in our age group in kindergarten, is completely being negated like that. Right? Like
yeah.
everything we're supposed to do to be conscientious, kind, social human beings on this planet was completely scrapped in one 30-second PSA. Weird, just very weird. Anyway, I don't want to get into that rabbit hole, but let's get into your good work. I know as a coach, fitness, nutrition, I want to know, if I put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds and it's career day and you have to explain what you do for a living, how would you do it with those kids?
Yeah, man, that's a good way to frame it. I've never thought about it that way. But so first thing I would say is we'll simplify. So I help Christian men regain their self-confidence and kill their passivity. And the tool that we use is strength training and nutrition. So we're going to teach you how to work out. We're going to teach you how to discipline your mind. We're going to teach you how to discipline your body. And we're going to teach you how to love yourself again. And that sounds a little bit woo woo, but there's a lot of guys out there that just don't think very highly of themselves. They've spent too much time, sacrificing themselves on the table of serving. And we are called to serve through our leadership, but we've taken that too far in our especially Christian culture and societal culture as well. But we've taken that so far as to where like, okay, well, I'm not worth anything because I am just here to serve everyone else, and that's just not true. So we have to reframe that to say, hey, man, you are worth something. Your life is worth something. Your feelings are worth something. How you show up matters. And we need to get you to the place to where you can serve from a full cup instead of trying to serve from an empty cup.
So I think one of the things that was a good byproduct of the pandemic was that there was an increased awareness of mental health. It wasn't just this thing where it's like, oh, if you don't feel good, shake it off. It was more of, all right, we have real things. And then the male psyche, we know with our egos and the way we roll, we tamp everything down. Just we got to be the man. We got to we're impenetrable. We have to be the Superman, right? So have you noticed that there has been more of a sea change with the mentality of not only the Christian world of men, but just men in general that are kind of struggling with figuring out their place on this planet?
Yes, meaning have I noticed a shift in it
Yeah,
recently?
just in the way that you go about work, maybe before the pandemic and now.
Yes, absolutely. So the important piece that I want to point out, and because you're right, Joe, we learn growing up, it's like shove your feelings down, shove your feelings down. And that's just, through culture, through whatever means, whatever influence we've had. And it is important to an aspect to be that strong pillar, that strong leader in your family, that one who can regulate his emotions. But that doesn't mean that you just never get emotional. Like God made you an emotional creature. You are an emotional human being. Now, there's nuances to that. We get into the masculine versus the feminine of that. But when we see men, we see through this kind of shift, the most important piece with that is men being able to talk to other men that they can look up to that are coming alongside them in life and having that kind of godly masculine brotherhood around you. That's the biggest shift that I see that's been so beneficial. Not especially for me, but I see some of that through social media, through other things as well, as people are starting to figure out, men are starting to figure out that it isn't good to be alone. There is no good lone wolf analogy here. Um, we aren't made to carry our burdens alone, and we aren't meant to live this life alone. So, finding good, godly men that can pour into you and that you can pour into as well is extremely important.
So, what were these foundational seeds that were planted into you that have allowed you to take this step to help coach people to get to a better place, to figure out their place in their lives, and to have a better future? What were those building blocks that were given to you early on?
Yeah, man. So probably the one that sticks out the most is the first mentorship and mastermind that I got into myself. So that was kind of the first unlock for me in my family. My wife and I, I wouldn't say we were in like a super hard place. Like it's not like we were getting ready to get divorced or anything like that. But we were going through life and I kept having these feelings like there's more to this. There's something like I'm kind of missing here. I'm not sure what it is. So I started looking, started reading books, started looking into podcasts, and I got connected with this guy who ended up being my first coach, my first mentor, and this kind of first mastermind that I invested in. And man, that was a game changer for me. It was just eye opening, and it put me in a room where I was around other men, other godly men that had also invested time and money to be there. And these were men that wanted to move up in life, wanted to take their lives, their marriages, their relationship with God, their fatherhood, their finances to the next step, to the next level. And so I was able to get around them and learn the practical and also the spiritual mental side of it. So that was a big first step for me as far as getting to where I am now.
So, you operate as a catalyst, as a coach to help people get to that place, to change their lives. Who is that coach for you? Who is that mentor, hero, inspiration that has allowed you to find your role in life and to help other men?
Man, so I'll say my first coach because we're talking about, heroes and people that have heavily influenced my life. So my dad is the first one that I want to point out. I was very blessed to grow up with a father that loved Jesus tremendously, and that was very kind of rooted in his masculinity, and raised me to not only love Christ but to have those aspects of manhood instilled in me from a very early age. So that's the first one. And then obviously we have Jesus. Jesus. I try to model my life after him. If you can't tell from our conversation so far, but the other one that comes to mind right now, like the one of the first early coaches that I had was John Michael Clark.
Yeah. Who would you love to meet? Anybody alive on the planet right now that you find inspirational that might help you on your journey as a coach? Who would you love to meet and talk to?
Anybody alive? I would say either Tim Tebow or Ed Milet.
Okay. Yeah. So let me ask you this. What is the motivation for you every day to wake up to do the work that you do? Because no matter what you do as a coach, you have to kind of get into people's lives and it can and there's darkness. How do you persevere through that, do the best you can, and take care of your soul and your family and your life?
I love that. So first would be I do feel called by God to do this work. So that is one thing. The other thing is the knowing that it is my responsibility to take care of my family and knowing that I want to model the kind of person that I want my sons to be. And then thirdly, it is just seeing the transformation in guys' lives. I had a client reach out to me a couple of weeks ago, and one of my favorite transformations thus far. I mean, this guy, he literally just really took everything to heart that we talked about and put in a lot of work and a lot of effort, and went from not being very confident to just having the confidence to lead his family, having the confidence to pursue his dreams, having the confidence to lead his kids well. And he told me, he was like, working with you changed the trajectory of my life. And that's the kind of stuff that keeps you going when things are not easy.
So the one thing about coaching is that I would imagine you're asking people to take risks in their lives, to get to a better place. What's the biggest risk that you've taken in your life?
Mm. So right before right before our second son was born, I left my W-2 of almost a decade and started working at a solar company doing door-to-door sales for 100% commission. Um, so that's the big one that comes to mind. That kind of started the catalyst of my entrepreneurial journey.
That had to be scary, man. I mean, I mean, anything door to door is already scary. And then to leave the comfort, right? Because that's kind of the generational thing, especially ours. We don't have the millennial thing because entrepreneurship is woven into them. It's part of their DNA. But for us, it's like, man, if you have a family, you have mouths that depend on everybody around you. You got to have something for sure. So how did it work out? I mean, how long did it take for you to find your comfort zone?
Uh, we're still working on
All right.
it. But no, man. So it was good and it was very scary. I kind of thinking about, my faith, and I talk about trusting God with finances, and you really don't, like, I thought I did. And then I left the company that had been paying my bills for the last 8 years. And I was like, okay, now I actually do have to trust.
Yeah.
But he provided, and things worked out. But it was scary. It was a big time of growth, and it was one of those where I didn't find this out until later, but it was one of those to where pretty much everyone around me was like, "You're insane. This is crazy. Like, this is not what you're like. Are you kidding me? You're getting ready to have another baby. You're losing your health insurance. You're leaving your job that actually pays the bills." Um, but man, it was. I wish I'd have done it sooner.
I always believe, in my life, I've done door-to-door sales. I remember when I was in college, and I'll never forget the guy I was out doing the job with and just the insane stories and the weird things that would happen and even waiting tables. I think there's certain things that you just have to do to groom your mind to understand how everybody rolls and how things because when you're on that ground level of sales, man, there's nowhere else. You're on that, and not in a bad way on the bottom floor, but you are. I mean, that's it. You got to work your way up. There's no like a company job where you hop in the middle and you can work your way up. When you get into sales, you're ground zero. I mean,
Yes.
even
Yes.
waiting tables, it's all you. How good are you going to do it? You're depending on no one but you.
Yep.
So,
Yeah,
um,
that's 100% true. And it really tests you, just your resilience
yeah.
and your ability to learn and persevere and keep moving forward. It's a scary thing, but it was good.
Yeah. I remember the dude that I did door-to-door sales with. He was a complete he was ex-military. I think he was in Vietnam, but he just would go on and on and on about how the CIA took out JFK. He wouldn't stop talking about it. And I finally got to the point where I was like, dude, I got it. All right, I got it. I know. Because I think it was around the time that JFK came out. So there was all these conspiracy theories that were floating around, but he was just absolutely convinced. I know people. I know people that know what happened. I was like, dude, we just need to sell this vacuum. I need to get home. Let's get.
I love
So
it.
it was wild. So let me ask you this. Everybody, if you could walk into a room of everybody that's known you in a professional sense, in any professional incarnation, and you could walk up to a podium of those people and you could tell them a fun story about your life, jumping out of an airplane, the first concert you went to, just a magical place you traveled to, an adventure you've been on. What would be a fun story that might humanize you to that group of people?
A fun story in a professional setting. Hmm, that's a good one. I would say that I don't know, man. I'd be tempted just to go day to day life.
Yeah,
The season that we're in right now with my 4 year old and almost 2 year old is so comical and insane. Like it would probably be a kid story.
yeah, totally.
That's where I would go with that.
That's cool. So, as a man of faith, watching the world right now with everything that's going on, are you hopeful? Do you wake up hopeful every day?
I do.
Yeah,
I do very much so. I can see a man, there seems to be just a thirst for something more. And I see more and more, even young people and people in my generation, turning to faith and also turning more back into kind of more historical ways of living. There's been an uptick in kind of homesteading and people wanting to be self-sustaining and, people homeschooling their kids and spending more time together as a family. So I see some of that traditional value coming back, and I am very hopeful right now.
so, of everything that you've done with your life and everything that you've evolved to at this point, what are you the proudest of?
Mm. My relationship with Christ and my family, my wife and my two kids. Those are the both of those things are the driving force behind everything that I do.
So, the one thing about having faith is that part of it is believing in something you don't see. We in Missouri, our motto is it's the show me state. So, there's a part of empiricism that people want to grab onto. But throughout everybody's lives, there's these moments where you just know there's a higher power, there's a God, there's something that is pulled the marionette in the sky, so to speak. What was the moment for you where you realized and you knew that there was a God, that there was a spiritual existence that made it all make sense to you?
Oh man, there's been multiple. It's one of those things that like when you're pursuing the presence of Christ, more than you're pursuing the principles of religion. Now, the principles are important as well. But when you're pursuing his presence in a way that gives yourself up, and I'm not saying I do that perfectly by any means, but I can see him often. I see him in my kids all the time. Like I look at this beautiful little creation of innocence, and there's zero doubt in my mind, Joe, that that came from nothing.
Yeah,
Like it just doesn't track. There's
yeah,
no way.
yeah.
And then, going through this entrepreneurial journey, I started this coaching business and I left my W-2 because I felt called to. I felt like that was the way he was leading me to go. And man, the people that I've gotten to meet, the guys that I've been able to work with, the time with my family that I've gotten back because I work from home now and like my schedule's flexible and just the kind of seasons of life that we've been able to work through, even in the midst of a new business, even in the midst of the uncertainty of entrepreneurship, and just watching him show up day after day. Like it's amazing.
As an entrepreneur, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Go.
Yeah,
Just go.
yeah.
Don't overthink. Take more action.
You know what's interesting about that? I remember one time a telemarketer called me up, a guy that he had business loans, and he called me up and I just kind of stopped him. I said, "Listen, I have a jazz radio show and there's already no money in jazz. You're not talking to a guy that's going to want 100K, okay? I'm a podcaster and we all know in podcasting they're it's not lucrative." So I just kind of stopped him. So he kind of said to me, "I've been thinking about getting into podcasting, but I'm not quite sure. I need to get a studio. I need to get this. I need to get that." I said, "Stop, stop, stop." I said, "You have to have a good idea. The beauty of podcasting is that there's this egalitarianism. If it's good, you're going to get an audience. So start somewhere. Get a microphone for 30 or 40 bucks on Amazon, right? Plug it into your computer. Get a little clip light. You need basic stuff." But he had this big thing where he was going to do this whole studio. So I'm like pepping him up for like 15 minutes. And he gets to the end. He's like, "Man, I was supposed to sell something to you and you just sold something to me." But it's that idea of just what you said. Go, go,
Yep.
throw a whole handful of darts at that dartboard. Okay. Just
100%.
see where one of them falls. And then if you start making revenue or you start having these clairvoyant things, you get an audience, then start kind of constructing a studio. But I think sometimes people feel like I paint. And to be a visual artist, you have to have a big studio. No, you just need to have some paints. You can get like 50-cent bottles of like acrylics at Walmart. You can get like a whole bunch of like brushes cheap. Get canvas. Just do it. Just let your soul fly out and go onto the canvas instead of I have to have this huge space and this warehouse and all of the no. You have to have the desire and then it'll build it, right? I mean, just
Amen.
go. Just do it,
Yeah, a
you
hundred
know.
percent. Again, I wish I would have. I had a fella ask me on a podcast a while back. He's like, "What's your?" I think he asked me what my biggest regret was as far as entrepreneurship and as far as business, and I was like, "That I didn't start sooner."
Yeah, that's it.
I waited. I waited until I thought, well, I got to do this or I need to have that. I'm not
Yeah.
really sure what I want to do. And like you said, like, man, throw some darts. Like you're never going to know if you don't try.
Yeah.
You got to try something. So whatever you're thinking about, take the next step towards that. See if you like it.
It's the bane of youth and it's the beauty of being a parent too, because you get to teach that to your kids now, right? You,
Yes.
you've incubated on this wisdom like a fine wine, and now you can be like, all right, I've been through it, do it, and
Absolutely.
they'll also watch you. You're an example, do as I say, not as I do kind of a thing.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
so everyone has a perception of you out there, family, friends, clients, everyone you coach, everyone you work with, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Hmm. What I strive to be is a vessel that God can work through.
Yeah.
I strive to have, and this is, we talk about like, who are you? Well, like it's evolving, it's changing, it's growing all the time. My what I strive for is to listen to him, to obey him, and to have a quiet and bold confidence to lead myself well, to lead my family well, and to lead those around me well.
So let me ask you this. If we get off this call and a time machine pulls up to your house and you could climb in and go anywhere in the history of time and see one event with your own eyes, it won't put a tear in time. It'll just merely be you looking at it thinking, wow, what would you love to have seen?
Oh man, I'm gonna go with the Gettysburg Address.
Cool. There's
Yeah.
been a couple people that have pointed out biblical like things like average things that Jesus would have done. Like, what was the alarm clock? Did you just wait for the rooster to crow? What was happening? Like, how did he wake up? Like, how did it happen? Just those little minute things because it's just, we're all people to a certain degree. We have to start our days, but that would be interesting. So let me ask you this. If anyone out there is on the fence, they've been listening and they're not quite sure whether they need coaching or whether they need to like have a push, what would you say to convince them to explore this, to reach out, to ask questions, to start seeking that way?
Oh man, I would say the one of the biggest things that has just had an incredible net positive impact in my life has been coaching. Once I started, so that first mentor that we talked about earlier in the show, once I took that step, and it was an investment. It was one of those like usually when you go to get good coaching or good mentorship, like it's an investment. There's finances on the line there. But once I saw the growth, and like this was stuff, Joe, that I had been trying to figure out for years on
Yeah.
my own. And man, it was just like easy, practical application, like brotherhood and accountability. Somebody who's been there, done that, that can encourage me or kick me in the pants if that's what I needed. The growth skyrocketed and it skyrocketed quickly. And since that time, I have hired multiple coaches since then because that was like, I saw that growth and I was like, okay, if you want to get there quicker and get further, go talk to someone and invest in them or invest in yourself with them that has already done it that can move you along quicker because you can figure this stuff out on your own. It's all there. Like we live in a day and age where you can get on ChatGPT, you can get on Google, you can figure out whatever you need to figure out. The difference is you don't have that person that's already lived it that is going to walk you through those life experiences like Google and ChatGPT can't do that.
So if anyone wants to reach out, questions, hire you, any of the good business, where do they go?
Yeah, so we're working on a website right now, but right now I'm still everything social media. So either Instagram at the Sean McManus or Facebook at Sean McManus.
Right on. Sean, this has been great, man. Thank you. What a great
Yeah, Joe.
story. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you, brother. I've enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.